Hello, Samurais. Welcome back to the dojo. I noticed that I made a mistake actually for quite a few times. I miscounted the number of lessons, so last lesson was actually lesson 17, which makes this one lesson 18. Uh, Last time I mentioned that we would be looking into expanding the current application that we developed in lesson 17. So we'll be adding a few more buttons here and there that add some cool functionality, such as uploading a file, downloading that file. We'll revisit a little bit of how we can use some of the knowledge we had from OpenXLSX to format that file that we're going to download, and yeah, and that's basically it. So we see a lot of things that are kind of new. So let's get started. Let's get to it. Okay, so here I already have the application open from last time, right? It's here my first Shiny app. We called it, well, it's app.r. So I opened this already, and we're already in here. Okay, so let me make this maximize this. Okay, everything's looking good. So the first thing we're gonna do is we will be modifying this app. So if you remember, I'm going to run this app so that you can see what it looks like. I will be running it in the window from RStudio so that I don't have to keep changing windows for you guys. But feel free to follow this tutorial and run it on your external web browser. So this is our current application, right? And we will be adding a location here to upload a file. And that file, of course, will be based on empty cars, and then we will be able to display that file. Let's say that for some reason you want to develop an application that doesn't have a, let's say, a database where you can query the data from, and you just want to do something to visualize some stuff, right? This is the use case that we're gonna be looking at today. Okay, so I will close this, and first things uh, the first thing we're going to do is actually I don't we will be adding the OpenSLXS library because we will be using. Then let's see. Well, yeah, I don't think we need anything. I don't think we need anything else. If we need something else, we'll add it in here. But I think so far that's fine. So first thing we need to do is this. We won't be loading the data anymore here. So we'll be using something else to do that. Okay. So first we should probably try to export this data, right? So I will be loading the libraries so that we have them available. I think that when I ran the application the first time, they actually loaded, by the way. Um, and let's load empty cars. And I want to save this as a CSV file because that's what I want us to use when loading the data as CSV file. But you can load Excel files or any other type of file. You just need to adjust a little bit of the code when you're doing that upload. And we'll go into those details a little bit further on. So here we have everything already, and I will just write some code here that I will later comment. Right, so I will do a write CSV, and it will be empty cars what we want to save, and we'll save it as empty cars.csv. Hopefully we have now our file here correctly, right? We have our CSV file that we will be using to test our application and upload files and do all this nice stuff. Okay, so with that done, we have no more use for this, so I will just comment it out. Feel free to delete it if you want. We won't be using it anymore because we already have our file. Now, we want to create some additional functions in here. We want to create a function that basically helps us format our file because we will be uploading that file, and I know that we're not going to be doing anything to the file, but I just want to show you that you can also create a button that lets you download that data and format it. So we will be uploading a CSV and downloading that as an Excel file. Okay, and you can do more processing in the middle with some other functions and stuff, but I won't be doing that. I'll keep it very simple. We'll upload the file, display the information, and then download the file, but download it as an Excel file. Okay, great. But to do that, of course, I want to format my my file on the way back. So let's create a function that I will call Excel export. Excel export, and this is a function that will take a data frame, and it will also take the name of a file. Then we need to type a lot of code here, right? So I think we can probably cheat. Let's see, we can cheat here. I think my first script, let me see if I can. My first script had some information here from when we saved a file back in the day when we created a workbook, if you remember. So I will just basically copy that code so we don't have to write it from the start, and then we'll do some modifications to it. Okay, so now this is a function, of course. So our worksheet, we won't call it data. Let's call our worksheet, let's call it cars. So everywhere where we see data, we need to change that to cars. Okay, so let's do that. Cars. Actually, let me just copy this. Cars, cars, cars. Cars here, cars here, cars here. Trust me, to completely, actually I don't think we need all the styles. Probably we can just keep 1, 2, and 3. Let me delete this one. Just keep 1, 2, and 3. This we can keep. Here we'll do some other modifications, but I think for cars, for the worksheet, that's about it. I don't think we need to modify anything else there. Now, of course, here the data frame that we're saving, it's now a variable or a parameter that we need to pass, and that means that we need to write here df. So everywhere we see dates df2, df, df, styles, let's delete this other, we'll just keep the first 3 styles. Let's delete also the columns. Let's also only use calls 1 and 2. Change this to 1, this to 2. Okay, dates df2 here, we write df because that's the parameter for our function. Let's see, we have to be very careful to replace basically everything that said dates df2. Otherwise we will get it'll just crash. It will just crash, and it'll be quite difficult to know where we went wrong, or it'll take us a little bit of time. Okay, it seems like we're okay. Yeah, it seems like we're okay there. We also added another parameter called name. So this is the name that we will use to save the file. So instead of saying here paste and all this stuff, we will be deleting this. Yeah. And pasting here name. Okay, so we have output file, we'll be passing the name. You have everything here. Seems to be kind of okay. And next we need to change here our calls match, which will be doing the formatting. If you remember from that class, I will change this one also to 1. so that it's covered the whole thing. And here, let's match, I don't know, let's go for the word cars here, just because. Let's delete this one, we don't need the value. And remember, this cars is actually coming from these columns, right? That's what we're trying to match here. And the other one, let's look at MPG and cylinder, which are some of the variables that we've been using quite a bit throughout this course. Now I will be saving this. So I think we're probably done with our Excel export function. So I will be scrolling slowly through it. So in case you want to write it yourself now instead of copying it from before, you can do that. Okay. So I'll stay here a bit. Now I'll move here to the end. And I won't stay here for too long. You can pause the video and just copy everything. I think it should be fine. If we have an error or something later on, we'll make sure to fix it. Okay, so now we have our Excel export function. Great. Now we need to do some changes to our UI. And for that, we have here, if you remember on this website, Shiny Components, we can look at where is it? Here, choose file, browse. So this, oh nope, this input. Let's see. So this input, it's telling you what we need to do and kind of how to use it. File input, file choose. Okay. So we'll be using this in our UI. So let's go back. In here, let's where should we place our file input? Let's place it above the UI output of MPG. So let's call this, we need to type file input. Then let's give it a name. It's called file. And then let's type in here, choose a file to upload. Then we can specify a parameter of what type of files we accept. So we will say accept.csv, so that at least that limits the number of files that people can try to upload. People can get very, very creative and try to upload something else. What happens if you upload something that is not, let's say, the correct CSV file, or if you don't use here accept.csv, if you try to upload an Excel, the application will just crash. It'll just turn gray and say basically it crashed, right? That's what you'll get. Okay. Now we have our file input here, at least our UI. Let's see if I run this, will it show up? Oh yeah, here it is. So we still have some stuff in here. We need to fix that, right? Don't worry about it. I think it's because we have it here in our environment. That's why. Otherwise, it would have crashed, I think. Let's see. Yeah, see, there was no information, but it's okay. We'll see. We'll see how to fix that. Okay. So now we have our file input. We need to modify now our server function to make that file input work. And this is where a little bit of the magic happens. Now, this is how I personally do things. I cannot guarantee that this is the best way of doing it, but it's definitely the way that has worked for me. Okay, so we will be creating some values, and then this will be reactive values. We'll create a reactive value. That means that it will be able to change the information it contains, and we'll call this df1, let's say, and we will tell it to start with an initial value of null. Okay. By the way, you can create more values in here. If you add a comma, you can create df2 equal null, and you create basically as many as you want. Now I will only be using one, so I will just stick to using one. Okay. Now, once we have that reactive value, we want to use something, we want to access that value, so we'll type values df1, and this is where it gets a little bit crazy. We'll then use something called a reactive, so a reactive expression, and that means that this value with that reactive expression will be able to change value and do some cool reactivity when you're uploading files, etc. So it'll execute things. Okay, so let's type reactive. And now this is where the magic happens. So in our reactive expression, what do we want values df1 to be? Of course, we want it to be the data that we're loading from empty cars data, right? So if that's what we want, well, definitely we need to type some code to make that happen. So let's call this file, and then we will be calling the input, which is the input over here. I think I went too far. Yeah, here. So the name of this input is file, remember. So we will say input file and then data path. This particular input called file, right, for getting or uploading a file, you can access the data path by doing that. So that means that it'll pass the full path on how to load that file. Now, once we have that stored in a local variable, let's say, we will then be saying file is basically read CSV, no, not read built-in, read CSV file, which is the path, right? Then we will specify the column types, and I think for that it's better if we just do it manually. So hopefully there's not that many. So we'll then copy the code from here. Okay. So I'll be specifying each one of them. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Double. Yeah, this is annoying, huh? Imagine if you have 100 columns. When it's CSV, you have to do it one by one. But when it's Excel, it actually goes much quicker. Okay, so we have our code here now. So let me copy this. Let's press cancel here. And let me paste it in here. Okay, so read CSV, of course, it's not going to be empty cars. It's going to be file. It's going to be file. File, call types, we have all the different columns in here. That's fine. And then if you remember, when we're importing this data, probably the cylinder, if you remember before, we did a conversion here where we said cylinder was a factor. So we will do that conversion too. Because if we forget how to do it, our graph will look a little bit different from what you remember. So let's add here a pipe. Let's do a mutate. Let's say sil equal as that factor cylinder. And hopefully that should finish our reactive value and our reactive expression. So that should kind of work already. But we're not done yet. We're not done yet. If we execute this, of course, it's not going to work. See, you see here that it says, oh, empty car is not found, and it's complaining a lot. So we need to do some changes into the rest of our application. Okay, so we will be, well, before we do that, we need to replace where it says empty cars. We will replace that with our reactive value. Okay, values df1, which also contains a reactive expression. Okay, so let's do that. So here, table 1, let's call our values df1, and you need to type the parentheses at the end. It's not the same as input cylinders. You need to press or apply this, because this is actually a reactive expression that is saving a reactive value, something that can change. Okay, if we don't add this parentheses, we'll get an error. Actually, I'll show you what that looks like. Let's do it. Values df1. Let's see if there's any other place where I need to change things. Here, values df1. And I think that's it. Okay, I think I think that's it. But this will, I'll be surprised if it works. So let me clear this console. Let's see if it, for some reason, let's see if it runs. Yeah, it's not. Well, let's see. Um, no, it's not working. So it's okay. It says the argument is not a function, so basically it's not going to work. So we need to add it like I said, like this. Values df1, values df1, and then hopefully, let's try it again. Let's see if it works. Of course, we still have some errors there, which we'll try to clear. But now it's working, right? We still have some errors here that will clear up. Don't worry about that. But it seems like it's working. Okay, we have our table here. Everything's working. Fine, good. Cars. Working. Great. Now let's close this. Let's stop this. So yeah, we have some error. File is not one of the supported inputs. File path, vector, file paths, connection, list of connections. Lots of stuff that it's like, okay, I don't really know what's happening. So that's probably coming from. Let's see. Probably coming from some of the requirements, because it's the objects here that try to get generated, the inputs, that is not working. So it's definitely probably happening or coming from there. Okay, so that means that probably we need to change the requirement that we need. So for let's add an additional requirement there. Actually, if we go here to maybe table, we'll see some errors. See, so it's full of errors, the application. It's not running great. We'll get rid of those. So for table, let's add a requirement, and let's call that requirement, it needs to come from input file. So input file is initially null, right? There's nothing in there. So if it's null, it probably won't execute. So if we do that and we run and we go to table, it should not be anything there. So right now it's not running. So that's great. Okay, so that one is working. Now let's change here our plot one, our render plotly. Let's keep the same, and let's add an additional requirement here to be also input file. So input file, input MPG, and input cylinders. It needs all those three to be able to work. Okay, and then for output cylinders, we'll also add a rec here called input file again, and hopefully that takes care of it. Let's see. Yes, that takes care of it. But still MPG here. We'll say that we also require that because we don't want to see that slider until it is actually the input file is actually uploaded. So it's kind of like a nice way of hiding it, let's say. So we will also add a rec input file in there. There we go. Now if we go to table, it's perfectly fine. If we go to cars again, then we see it. Okay. It seems like it's working pretty good. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's working pretty nice. Now everything appears. The table's there. Everything's working now as it used to. So we're almost done with the upload of the file. There's one more thing we need to change. One more thing. What is that one more thing that we need to change? That's probably the amount of how big the file that we can upload can be. Okay, so for that we need to add some special code, and let's write it at the top, called options shiny dot max request size equal, let's make it 30 megabytes, so that would mean it's 30 times 124 2. That's how you would do it. And this would be let's write here a comment called max file upload size, currently set at 30 megabytes. Default is 5 megabytes. Okay, so now we're done. We won't see any change to that, by the way. It's gonna work exactly the same. So yeah, there's no change to it. So it's good. Okay, so now we have done our upload, and that's working pretty nice. But what if we want to re-download that information? Let's say that you did some additional processing in there. How would you do that? Well, we can check our stuff in here. There's something called a download button, a download handler. So let's see the code. Let's see what it looks like. It says yeah, it says we need to add this to the UI, download data, and then we need to add this function in the server function. Okay, so we will be doing that. We will be doing this. Plus, we'll be using our function to save it as an Excel file. Okay, great. So let's see. Let's get to it. Let's go to our UI. Our UI, where's the UI? Oh, here it is. UI, and let's place that download button. Let's place it below our file input. Let's place it below our file input. So here we'll do a download button. We'll call this button, right? That's how I'm going to call it. So we'll be referencing that later. Download data. Let's call it like that. Download data. Let's add a comma. Let's save this. And if I run this, hopefully I should see a button that does absolutely nothing. And you cannot press it, you cannot do anything because we haven't added any of the code. But at least it's there, it's looking nice and pretty. Now we need to go to the server function. And in the server function, we need to do the magic, right? So we will be adding at the end, let's say we add here output button, and then we need to do the let's see, download handler. Yeah. So download handler, and then here inside we will type file name equal, and we can use our MVP paste. Let's call it my data. Then let's do a format sys.time. Then we will format that according to year, month, and day. We'll also add a space and we'll type in here hours, minutes, and where is it? Seconds. .xlsx as our extension .xlsx, which is going to be our file name, and then we'll say that the separator is equal to basically nothing. Okay, we have our file name now here. And then we need to type content, function file, and some stuff like this. Okay, so we'll type content equal function file, open parenthesis, and here I will be adding some additional stuff. Actually, here, by the way, I'm missing a comma at the end. That's why I was getting a warning. And here we will add something. In Shiny you can also add let's say progress bars when you're downloading something, so I think it's nice to have that, so we'll add that. So we'll say with progress, the message will be exporting data, and the value will be equal to 0. Let's see if we need to, yeah, with progress value equal to 0. And then let's do inside here what's going to happen with that. So we'll say increase progress by 0.5, so that means 50%. Then after that we will execute Excel export, which is the function that we created, and that one requires a data frame. If you remember, it says requires a data frame and a name. So df will be values df1, and name will be equal to file. That's basically how it works. You know, you see here it says file, so we pass file. And then we will add increase progress again by 0.5, and that should basically finish our whole thing. So that should probably, hopefully work. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Let's run this. Let's browse. You see, I cannot select the app.r. It's just .csv, so that's cool. Select that. We do the upload, and then I want to download this. You see the export, and then you see that it says downloads in there. So let me close that. Let me run it externally. Let me run it externally. And here we can do the browse, empty cars, open, and then if I click download data, it will download this data. Okay, it's here. You see that I have more stuff here. Um, Let me clear that up. Actually, let me download that again. Download data, execute the function, everything's fine. It says, yeah, sure. And let's open it. And this is what we get. You can see that it was just created, and it's done. We have our our data in our file formatted, and everything is nice and cool. So something that you could do, for example, is you could technically add a sort of button. Let's say components. You could add a button that does some kind of change to that information, and then you can uh, save that information also. Where's the button? Let's see if we can find a button here. Action here. So you could use an action button, and then that action button you can have it perform some action, and then you can modify that data frame and then save that data. In this example, I will not be doing it, but you know you can definitely do it. So I will be closing this one, and then I'll be stopping here the function. Now I think we can probably add something else. Let's say I think there's another parameter, session parameter. Session object, here it is. Is it this one? Here it is. It was at the start. Shiny server functions can optionally include session as a parameter, e.g. function input output session. This session object is an environment that can be used to access information and functionality relating to the session. So in case we wanted to do some stuff related to that session, we could add that parameter into our Shiny server function. Now there's really nothing that we gain from adding that. I think at least not in this case because of scoping. But yeah, let's see here. No, that's not it. Let me see if I can session object. Well, let's see what happens if we just type session. Actually, let me check, guys. Let's see if I have somewhere where I can check for that. Give me 1 second. Let me just find it. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Actually, no. We don't really require it. Sorry about that. We can just completely. Or is it? Yeah, I don't think we need it because everything's working with the scope topic. So there was a time where I told you that. So let's remove that. Whatever you do here, it's basically handled per session, right? So we don't really need to add any additional parameter here. There's ways in which you could maybe, let's say, stop the session. There's ways in which you can stop the session. For example, if you're running this application locally, not on a server, right, and you want to just terminate that session, or that the application closes when you click, because if you notice, every time I run it on an external web browser, it's not working, right? It doesn't stop the session itself. You can add something in your server function called session on session end it, and here you can type stop application. And I think if we do it like this, when we run external, yeah, I think object session not found. Okay, I think maybe like this. Let me stop this. Let's run it again. Nope. I think it's not here actually. Sorry, I'm making a big mistake. It's not in the Shiny app. It's actually in the server function. Sorry. Let's see. Let me check my notes about this. Yeah, it's here. Sorry, it was not down there. It's here. We add session. Now we can use that. So now hopefully once I run it, it will actually run the way I want it to run. So let's run. Let's move this here. Now it's running fine. We can do empty cars, open. It's working, great. I can download the data, and if I close this, hopefully this will stop. Okay, let's close it, and it stopped. Right, so let's do it again, so that we see that it's actually no errors. Let's upload something again. That's good, that's fine. Still running, no errors. Close, and done. Right, okay, so if you want to run your application just locally, right, let's say that you created this nice dashboard and you can upload some CSV file to visualize it very quickly, and later export some graphs or whatever. Remember, you can always add this session parameter, and that will allow you to quickly, let's say by adding this additional code, to stop the application. Now, when you run the application on a server, on a Shiny server, you want to remove this, because if you don't remove this, that means that whenever someone closes the application, the session, or basically the application, will be stopped for everyone, not just only for the person that closed it, but for everyone. So that means that people would have to reload, and that can get a little bit annoying. So make sure that if you're hosting your application on a Shiny server, don't add this. You can just remove this, and remove where is it? I keep going way too far, and remove this one. Okay, I'll leave it here because I'm assuming that you're running it locally, so that's fine. That's how it's gonna work. Okay, so I think that with that, we basically come to the end of our class 18. I don't think we will be keep talking about Shiny app development, right? Maybe we can probably talk about some other interesting topic next time. I think with these very basics today, you can already do many things. I would consider, if you can, right, as some kind of challenge, try to add a button to the application to do something, right? You can add that button there to maybe modify your reactive information, right? And then export that. If you do something like that, you might want to uh, maybe make a second DF here, one that reads the information first, and the second one that is just there for changes. I don't know, but that's up to you to figure out. I think at this point you might have enough tools to do that. So yeah, that's all for today. As always, if you like the content that I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and comment. That can help the YouTube algorithm hopefully favor us, so that more people can see these trainings related to R. With that said, thank you very much for attending. Sorry a little bit there for some of the hiccups we had, and the problem with the session that you know that I basically forgot. I don't use it very often, but yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, I hope you keep enjoying the classes. I hope you keep improving your R knowledge, and I'll see you next time. I'll try to think of something that we can do. Worst case, we continue expanding our application. Maybe we add that button that I talked about. That would be a very short class, I think, to modify the data frame, let's say, and save it with some changes. We could be doing that, or maybe we do something completely different. I still don't know. So please keep posted on that. With that said, thank you, and class dismissed.